Welcome back. I'm Ted,
I'm Alex.
and today we're talking about parenting, fatherhood,
Fine.
motherhood, aunt, uncle, grandparents.
Just parenting in general.
I thought it'd be an interesting topic because I don't have kids. Me and my partner are talking about having kids soon.
I have
And
one little beautiful daughter.
I'm not married. You're married.
It's true.
It brings up a lot of topics.
Hmm.
Should you be married prior to having kids? Were you guys married prior to having kids?
We were married prior to having kids, but yeah, I guess it comes down to what you believe in and whether your marriage or your relationship is stable and sufficient, I guess. I don't think it necessarily matters too much. I know a few people that have been together, not even engaged, just a couple for forever. It's like they're married but they're not. They just don't really feel the need to do it, but they've got kids and they're happy as, have no dramas. But then I've got other people, that are not married and have kids and aren't together and drama town. So yeah, I think it's individual, I guess. I don't think there's like a yes or no answer for it. I think it's individual.
I think you're 100% right. But then again, what does it take to be a good parent? There's a lot of books, a lot of instructions,
It's half the problem.
and but then every child's different.
There's no book or video or seminar that's going to prepare you 100% for being a parent. There's lots of good tips you can get out of it, but yeah, it's like, the cliche thing, every kid's different, but it's very true. Every kid is different, and you just do what you do that works for your kid. Like our kid, my daughter doesn't really have set routines as much as for bedtimes and stuff like that. She sort of just goes to bed when we go to bed, but it's no drama for us when she's up as late as we are, because she's just chilling with us anyway. It's not like she's going mental, and then she sleeps in a bit in the morning as well. But that works for us, so that's why we do it. And then I've got friends and whatnot that have set routines, and that's what works for them, so that's why they do it. So I don't think if you can't just read a book and sweet, I'm ready to have kids now, because it's not how it works. You get some good tips and advice and methods on how to diffuse problems and engage with kids and all that sort of stuff, but at the end of the day, you just learn as you go as well, being a parent.
I think from someone that's interested in having kids soon, there's a lot of different values that I see between the different parents that I know. One, whether or not you need a male and female, like a father and mother role. Two, how to discipline your child. Three, is it important whether or not you spoil your kids, or how much love that you're meant to be showing them, if you're meant to teach them how to overcome things. I grew up in a single mother household, so I never had that father figure. At the same time, my mom always showed me love, but she,
Still when she needed to be.
Yeah, she's typical, not necessarily that. It's more of a typical ethnic mom, always expected more, type of thing. I think a lot of those traits have kind of passed on to me. So she was never easily happy. But she'd always showed a lot of love. And I do see a lot of different traits between different parents. And I'm just kind of curious about what's your thoughts. Are you a big believer in adversity when you're young to teach you a lot of life skills? Or are you about coddling your kids and trying to protect your kids as much as you can?
Probably a bit of both. There's some times where my daughter will do things and I just think, alright, well, she's going to learn a tough lesson from that and hopefully not do it again, and then she might do it again, and I just think, but I think it depends on the situation. If there's a situation that I know is just going to be harmful or not have a good end result, then obviously I'm going to like protect them and whatnot from that. But if I can see that the outcome might be a tough lesson, then like I'm okay with that. You know, there's nothing wrong with learning a few tough lessons in life. Is that what you mean?
It is. I
Yeah.
think there's it's a roll of the dice. Honestly, there's a lot of things that I probably didn't have the easiest life growing up. There's plenty of people who've had much worse, and now there's a thing that I've noticed that people who have overcome extremely difficult situations, they do develop a little bit of tough skin, a little bit of I don't know, maybe they're a little bit more streetwise. They're a little bit more
bit more life experience.
It is life experience, and you can see that in people. Whereas someone that kind of grew up, maybe was a silver spoon, or probably saw the world through rose-tinted glasses, or
you can definitely tell the difference between how people were raised and what they've been through for sure.
But there's a risk, like if you've lived that life, there's a risk that you took.
Yeah.
Now, as a parent, are you willing for your kids to take that risk? Do you even want them to take that risk?
I don't have a massive issue with them taking risks as long as we're aware of it, because 9 times out of 10 we're going to be able to help them get out of the problem if something doesn't work out the right way.
Yeah.
If they're going and doing stuff without us knowing, and a bad outcome comes, whereas they could have just said, hey, we're doing this or whatever, and we're like, sweet, we just prepared for something, and can be there if they need it, then I personally don't really have any issues.
I bring this up because that tendency for like the older generation to be like, oh, this younger generation, they have it too easy, it's too soft for them, or they don't have adversity. But in my head, I'm like, if you went through that adversity, wouldn't you want your kids to have a easier time, to have it better?
Yeah.
Isn't that the whole point?
Yeah, you've done the suffering so they don't have to.
But then you can't expect them to have your life experience
and be able to problem solve those problems because if they've never had to face it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
I
that's what
understand that.
It's like catch-22. Yeah. Do you want your kids to have a better life? If they have a better life, how are they going to get the life experience that you've had with the turmoil and all the difficulties that you've had to overcome? You can't have both ways.
I think if you are prepared to give your kid, like that, not the silver spoon, but that better life, if you want them to have that, then you as a parent have to be prepared to be able to help them when they need it. Instead of saying, oh, you should know, but you should know how to get out of this. This is just because you've gone through it yourself. I feel like if you want to give them that easier run, which is fine, I feel like the parent should be, there at the snap of a finger if the child needs it, without, like coming down on them saying, you should know better, or blah blah blah, getting stuck in them for not being able to deal with it themselves.
Yeah, but then that brings up another argument about if you're constantly doing that, if you're constantly saving your kids from bad situations, then aren't you just developing kids that can't get out of bad positions?
Yeah, but I feel like if you are there for them when they need it, then they will call for it. But I also feel like they're not going to use it all the time, because there'll be some situations that they'll think, I'm all sweet with this, and I'll have a go, and then if I'm really stuck, I'll call for my parents. Yeah,
but people learn from repeated action. If your history just constantly...
I didn't learn from repeated action. I mucked up heaps as a kid and got flogged all the time, and I didn't learn to stop doing it.
No, it's by repetition. You learn things. So you do any action more than once, you get better at that one action.
Yeah.
And as soon as you hit trouble, if you're constantly calling your parents, calling your mum, calling your dad, whatever it is, that's the action you're constantly going to do. The honest truth is, for whatever happens, there's always going to be an end, because tomorrow always comes and the next day always comes. And if your habit is calling your parents every time there's an issue, what's going to happen if you can't call your parents? Have you ever learned the ability to overcome on your own?
Yeah, well, this I can see your point of view, because this is the stuff that you've had to deal with growing up. That's why you're very much on that side.
How do you make sure your kid is a well-developed adult that has the skill sets to cope with whatever.
Yeah, you just got
adversity.
to let them. You got to let them test the waters a bit. And like, while you're doing that, you also got to be prepared to help them if they need it. Like,
So you're the safety net.
yeah, oh yes, and yeah,
Is it not necessary for them to fall sometimes, not to have a safety net?
yeah. Sometimes you let them go, and you know they just. It depends. It's a situation thing. You're not going to like not be there for them if the situation is going to cause harm. But if you know that it might cause them a bit of pain, as in not physical, but like, you know, a bit of heartache, or like know they've made a bad decision or whatever, there's nothing wrong with letting them go through that, because then that develops that, you know, like we can get out of situations. Obviously, if it's going to be like something stupid, your parents going to want to intervene and say, look, this is a bad choice, why don't you do something else or whatever. So I think, yeah, you got to let them test the waters, but at the same time, you got to be prepared to scoop them out the net if they need it. So
I think
if they need it is the key thing there.
if they need it.
Yeah. And you've probably got a better judgment call than they do on if they need the help. So
Yeah, but I feel like every child thinks that it's in one way or another.
I
smarter
always
than the
thought,
parent. Yeah, everyone.
exactly right, but that's what I'm saying. Like the parent would know. Like there's heaps of times I would always like tell my dad to jam it, and then like I look back at it now and I think, man, I wish I just let him help me.
Yeah.
And it would have just saved me so much trouble, because he was right, which is like the case 9 times out of 10.
Did you ever tell him that?
What?
That he was right a lot of the times?
No, but he'll probably watch this and see it.
Yeah.
You've heard it first, people. It's on YouTube now.
Okay.
But yeah, that's just what it's like. That's what it's like as a kid. You like every kid's gonna think that they know more than their parents,
I think me and my partner.
but they don't.
No,
So,
no. Me and my
maybe
partner
in some
talk about how we're going to raise our kids. I think one thing I've really thought about the last couple of years is that we all have adversity. I know, as corny as that sounds, but I think your situation in life and the external adversity you face will dictate the level of adversity that you have. So if you're currently living in a country that's in civil war, that's going on, all that stuff, the problems that you're facing is that you're hoping not to die that day. Or if you're in a country that's stricken with famine, your worry that day is that whether or not you're gonna get food. If your worry is that you're in a Western country and you have money, nice house and stuff like that, but say you're gay or trans, but you're living in an area that's very homophobic or whatever, your worry is that you might be found out or someone might turn against you, do something violent.
cause problems.
If your worry is, I don't know, if your finances, if you're living somewhere and you're tight on money, your worry is that you might be not able to afford food or
worried
rent.
something's going to come out of your bank and then you're stuck.
So I think the level of concern is dictated by where you are in life or what your situation is. I do think the level of adversity you face early on will help. Like if you, like for me personally, I grew up, I'm a refugee, came here, actually technically double refugee, because I went from, like, my mom was like a political prisoner type of thing, and I had to leave, and then from there came here to Australia, and then as kids didn't have any money and all that stuff, so I'm very fortunate. I talk about this with my siblings as well. I think it makes us a little bit more driven to do things.
You get the stuff you missed out on.
Oh man, do you know how many people here I hear on a regular basis complain about how difficult life is?
And they have no idea.
It's they shouldn't. They have no experience, and I get it. But in my head, I'm like, man, Australia is such a nice place to live.
Yeah, for sure.
It's such a good place
we
to
are
live.
very fortunate in this
And there's
country.
so many safety nets. The fact that we have a universal healthcare, that something could happen to you, and you have no concern of being able to get treated. The more severe it is, you'll get done straight away. If it's not severe, you'll have to wait, but you're not going to die.
Yeah.
Like, that's a concern that people have.
Yeah, we're very fortunate in this country.
Yeah.
For sure.
Even in the US, if you hurt yourself, that's going to ruin you financially.
It is chaos, over there.
And then over here, we got Centrelink. I know Centrelink takes a lot of...
Centrelink's annoying to some people, but
It is. It takes a lot of
It's not an issue compared to some other people's lives.
and people that like they work and stuff complain about our tax money goes to Centrelink. Those people don't get paid much. Like I'd be surprised if they get paid enough to live off.
Yeah, it's just a little booster. It's not really an income.
But in saying that, for the average Australian that's young, that wants to do something, wants to take a chance, start a business or go out, get an education, stuff like that. There's so many safety nets that allow you to take the risk where it's barely a risk.
Yeah.
It's barely.
It seems like a risk to us because we don't really know any different.
Yeah, it does seem like, but it's not really a risk.
Like compared to some other places in the world. And
you're young, like, all right, I want to get an education. Hopefully it'll give me a good job, good money. The government will pay for your education. You pay them back when you can. They'll give you Centrelink money, whatever that study money is.
Tax fund.
And then, like, you can live off that.
Yeah.
You can literally live as a student and get paid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's not much. Like, I didn't really get that because I was working at a young age, but it's like it's there for people.
Yeah.
But in saying that, if you don't have that adversity early on, so many people cry and struggle over. It is adversity, but it's nothing that's going to ruin your life. That's why, like, I don't know, me and my partner think about it a lot. We really want our kids to experience adversity at an early age. Because the truth is,
you both probably went through it yourselves.
Yeah, but it's not. That's not really the reason. The reason is if you have adversity early on, it's going to make everything else a little bit easier to handle. Because life is never perfect.
No.
Even if you go from having no money, living on the streets, to all of a sudden having your own place, money coming in, eating, you're always going to have some kind of adversity.
Yeah.
We're trying to teach them the skill sets to handle whatever the problem is. If it's severe, if it's something that's not so bad, whatever it is, for them to learn the skill set. And I think, I might be wrong. If you guys have a different opinion, let us know. But I think the only real way for you to learn that skill set is to experience it earlier on. Like, experience is the most valuable thing in the world.
I understand that.
Yeah. That's kind of like, that's probably the biggest concern I have about raising a kid. Because every kid's needs is different. And you never know what kind of skill sets they need to develop. Well, that's my 2 cents.
I like it.
Yeah? You agree or disagree?
I can see where you're coming from. I don't disagree. So.
But I can understand a parent's perspective where you don't want anything to happen to your kid.
Yeah, it literally is all different. It's for every kid. It just comes down to how you were raised as well. Like you had a pretty tough childhood. My childhood was pretty good. Other people's childhood was 1,000 times better than mine. It depends how you were raised. You just do what you know.
Yep.
And it always, I think that's just,
If you do what you know, but your raise was like bubble wrapped around you, like how you gonna live your life? Because once you grow up, your parents can't be there beside you the whole time.
No, exactly. Yeah, I think it's probably is better to go through the mud a bit at a younger age to help, especially because of how the way the world is too. Like it's always changing.
Yeah.
And there's always dramas, and at the moment there's mega dramas. So it's probably handy to have a bit of life experience under your belt from a young age.
Yeah. Guys, let us know what you think.
Yep.
What kind of life experience did you have when you were young?
We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, everyone's different. Let us know what your thoughts are on parenting. Is it important to give your kids those experiences early on? Or do you think when they're young is a little bit too soon, that they need to wait? And I get it, there's a good argument for it, that you need to wait until their brain's a little bit more developed to make more rational judgment.
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer for this topic. It's whatever the parent's comfortable doing.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Alright, as always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe.
Turn on the notifications.
See you next time.